word for today. If you notice, you will not be doing the bell word that's at the top. I have a sheet of paper up here for you. So, of course, we're reading Night by Eli Wiesel, and should be as far as chapter 3. I want you to discuss the tone of the following lines from chapter 3 of Night by Eli Wiesel. Okay? And you can write this down in your journal, and I'll give you about 10 minutes to complete this. 1, line number 1. How we would have liked to believe that we pretended for what if one of us still did believe. Line 2, we never saw him again. He had been given the news, the real news. And then finally, the inscription, warning, danger of death. What irony was there here? A single place where one was not in danger of death. So those are 3 lines that are from chapter 3. I want you to take some time to discuss the tone. Now, first of all, we want to make sure we understand what tone is. What's tone? The attitude, right? Remember, good way to remember that. If your parents say, don't use that tone with me, they're saying you have a bad attitude, right? So what would you say the attitude or the tone was of these 3 lines from chapter 3? And when you're discussing tone, you want to make sure you capture it typically in one word, okay? Typically in one word. A specific adjective that you feel like describes the tone. And remember, tone is from the author's perspective. And mood is more or less how that line makes you feel. The tone is from the author's perspective. So I'll give you about 10 minutes to work on that. Okay. Those review questions that you received on Friday in my absence was just like a warm-up. It was not the official test. All right. They were just questions that kind of, you guys look disappointed. Did you want it to be a test?
Yes. You like to get another way.
Oh, really? No, I don't like to give tests when I'm not here. I want to make sure you're doing the right thing, like Spike did, yes. All right. So, those were review questions. Hopefully, if you were not caught up in your reading, it forced you to read and catch up on your reading and answer those review questions. Did it? Good for you, yeah. Oh, Harry, you are here. Sure you were. Alright, so after we work on bell work, we'll go ahead and get that test out of the way because I know you're down to just get that test out of the way, the anxiety of the weekend. Yes. And it is an essay. I also told you that it was an essay form, so you should have known that that wasn't the actual test. Alright, so I'll give you about 10 minutes to work on that. Yes. Please copy the entire prompt down. Alright, you have about 15 minutes for your quiz. Kenny, if you would close that line, and Tyrone, if you would close those lines in the back. And if need be, I can make the font a little larger. Is this large enough, or do you need the font a little larger? Is that a little better? Alright. Elizur's family is first herded into another smaller ghetto. What is the name of their former servant, and what gesture did she perform to attempt to save the family? What was Elizur's family response, and what was the consequence of their response? How do you think the novel would have been different had the family went along with the suggestion? That's question 1. Or you can opt to choose question 2. It is said that pages 1 through 45 in Night chronicles Elizur's loss of innocence, his confrontation with evil, and his questioning of God's existence. Explain this belief. Why is this so? What chain of events supports these assertions? Your answers must be a minimum of 3 paragraphs per question. Please write down the prompt that you choose. Okay? You have 15 minutes. And remember the strategies we use on how to start an essay. Okay? So this is not a full-blown essay. However, I do expect certain strategies incorporated in your answers. All right, so I'll give you about 15 minutes to respond. Please make sure you copy the question or the prompt that you chose. Good luck. Please make sure you clear your desk of everything. You may use your novel. Okay? You may use your novel, but you may not use any text aids, any spark notes, any cliff notes. If you have if you have made annotations inside your novel, that is okay. You may use those, but you may not use any separate notes, text aids of any kind for this particular quiz.
What's the word that
Which number are you? Question 1 or question 2? Eliza's. That's the author's last name. Actually, sorry, his first name. Bless you. For today, if you notice, you will not be doing the bell work that's at the top. I have a sheet of paper up here for you. So, of course, we're reading Night by Eli Wiesel, and should be as far as chapter 3. I want you to discuss the tone of the following lines from chapter 3 of Night by Eli Wiesel. Okay? And you can write this down in your journal, and I'll give you about 10 minutes to complete this. 1, line number 1. How we would have liked to believe that we pretended for what if one of us still did believe. Line 2, we never saw him again. He had been given the news, the real news. And then finally, the inscription, warning, danger of death. What irony was there here? A single place where one was not in danger of death. Those are 3 lines that are from chapter 3. I want you to take some time to discuss the tone. Now, first of all, we want to make sure we understand what tone is. What's tone? The attitude, right? Remember, good way to remember that. If your parents say, don't use that tone with me, they're saying you have a bad attitude, right? So what would you say the attitude or the tone was of these 3 lines from chapter 3? And when you're discussing tone, you want to make sure you capture it typically in 1 word. Okay? Typically in 1 word. A specific adjective that you feel like describes the tone. And remember, tone is from the author's perspective. And mood is more or less how that line makes you feel. The tone is from the author's perspective. So I'll give you about 10 minutes to work on that. Okay? Those review questions that you received on Friday in my absence were just like a warm-up. It was not the official test. All right. They were just questions that kind of, you guys look disappointed. Did you want it to be a test?
Yes. You might be another way.
Oh, really? No, I don't like to give tests when I'm not here. I want to make sure you're doing the right thing, like Spike, yes. All right. So, those were review questions. hopefully, if you were not caught up in your reading, it forced you to read and catch up on your reading and answer those review questions. Did it? Good for you, Harold. Oh, Harold, you are prepared. Sure you were. Alright, so after we work on bell work, we'll go ahead and get that test out of the way, because I know you're down to just get that test out of the way, the anxiety of the weekend. Yes. And it is an essay. I also told you that it was an essay form, so you should have known that that wasn't the actual test. Alright, so I'll give you about 10 minutes to work on that. Yes, please copy the entire prompt down. Let's get your responses. Any volunteers to discuss this one? Why was Ali against the war? You think it was against his religion? What do you understand about his religion based on that small clip? Well, you said it was against his religion.
To kill innocent people.
Okay, so he felt like he was killing innocent people. All right. Anybody else? What did you put, Kim? Go ahead.
I said Ali is against the war in Vietnam because he's facing a war against the whites, not the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese didn't do anything to him, therefore why should he go across the world to help the whites fight the Vietnamese when he's facing racism and more on his.
All right. Now, I think that's a very perceptive understanding of Ali's ideas, especially when you said that he felt like he was going through a personal war here in the United States. So basically, you're saying he didn't have time to fight another war with people that he did not know because he felt like he was warring against other Americans, particularly white Americans. Good answer. Anybody else? Brittany.
I said, basically, Ali said it's a war and he feel like it's not safe and he didn't want to go to war and he didn't think it was fair how you could be drafted.
All right. And so, and I think you brought up a point that a lot of people don't get from that clip. When you said that it should be a personal decision. You know, if you believe in the principle, then you fight for it. But again, I think you're pointing out that he didn't believe in the principle of fighting that war. So he didn't feel like he should go because he didn't want to. You know, he was being drafted, he was being forced to go, and that's why he was against it. All right. The next bullet says that famous statement, very, very famous statement, and that's why it was captured. And out of all of the things that they highlighted from Ali's life, they made sure to put this one in the movie. He says, "You're my opposer when I want freedom. You're my opposer when I want justice. You're my opposer when I want equality." Anybody want to discuss what they thought about that quote? What do you think, Josh? You know, I couldn't wait to hear your response. Militant Josh. Go ahead, Josh.
I said that the statement wasn't directed at whites only, it was directed at America in general. And it was also talking about the racial inequality, not only something the blacks but people other than the race that was supposed to be superior.
All right. So what you're saying is the you are, and the you're that he's referring to, you felt like was just Americans, period. All right. What issues do you think he had with Americans?
Because really America is not like Germany, America is nothing like this. So when he said good, it wasn't only white oppressing black. Blacks were oppressing other races. Other races were oppressing blacks. Basically, it's talking everybody.
All right, so you felt like his opposers were anyone that seemingly didn't believe in what he believed in. Anybody was causing him any type of opposition. Is that what you're saying? Okay. But you don't believe it was directed to necessarily whites, is what you're saying. anybody that keeps him from experiencing justice. So if someone believed if blacks believe that he should support the Vietnam War, then they were his opposers. Is that what you're saying? Anybody that caused him, I'm trying to understand specifically, because you said you don't feel like it was directed to whites, but you felt like it was directed to all Americans. And I was just trying to understand, why you felt like it was all Americans. And I think I'm understanding you're saying because anybody who caused him to experience opposition was the people who was his opposer. So anyone that was causing him a fight, a contending of some sort, was his opposer. Did I capture what you were saying? I just want to make sure I did.
Yes.
All right. I don't want to add or take away. Alyssa, what did you think? What did you write in your discussion?
Like the job said, he was talking about racial segregation, like he wants freedom from segregation, justice to be applied to segregation, and equality instead of segregation.
All right. So who do you think specifically is the opposer that he's referring to? Because it seems that he's saying that the Vietnamese are not his opposers. All right. So who do you think his opposers is in that quote? Because he seems very irate and angry. Who do you think his opposers are?
Anyone who advocates for racial segregation.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if they're white, black, anybody who was against segregation and inequality, you felt like he felt was his opposer.
Anyone who wanted.
Anyone who wanted.
Because other than just the whites who wanted to some blacks who wanted
Gotcha. That's the bell, right? All right. So if you would please, we'll discuss this a little more. I want you to keep those responses, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Carol, of course, I want to hear what you had to say about that. But we'll talk more about that clip on tomorrow and how it relates to moral courage.
What blacks want segregation?
All right. Real quick, I just want to kind of recap from last week. I know it was absent on Friday, and we had an opportunity to talk about the Vietnam War and the drafting process, and how there were a lot of people who just frankly did not support the war, which takes us back to our unit theme about moral courage. I want you to watch this clip. This is taken from the movie Ali, in which Will Smith plays the character Muhammad Ali, which was a very famous boxer. He was drafted in the Vietnam War. This actually happened, but this is just a reenactment of what actually happened in his actual response to being drafted. Okay? So I want you to watch this closely, and then I'll get some brief feedback about what you think.
I ain't draft dodging, I ain't burning no flag, and I ain't running to Canada. I'm staying right here. You gonna send me to jail? Fine, you go right ahead. I've been in jail for 400 years. I can be there for 4 or 5 more. But I ain't going no 10,000 miles to help murder and kill other poor people. If I want to die, I'll die right here, right now, fighting you. If I want to die, you my enemy. Not no Chinese, no Viet Cong, no Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. Want me to go somewhere and fight for you? You won't even stand up for me right here in America. For my rights and my religious beliefs. You won't even stand up for me right here at home. believe in separation. I recognize the fact that you believe in it. That's what your people believe in. What you mean you don't believe in it? Then, no, you just talking crazy. Every city I go to, I can find a black neighborhood and a white neighborhood. What you mean don't believe in it? How many Negroes live out here just in this big old neighborhood? You can't blame a black man for wanting to leave all this mistreatment. You must be crazy. So what you mean don't take white money? Only thing white about that money is a white paper. What you mean white money? If that's the case, I should take off his clothes. You made them too. You can't now be angry because they tired and they don't see no more hope in integrating the field, swimming in the field, playing in, walking in, still getting their heads beat in, and you wonder now why they tired.
This is the actual voice of Muhammad Ali now.
Believe in what has been revealed.